The Secret History by Donna Tartt is a book that doesn't need a review. Therefore, this is not a review. This is just going to be a short rant on what I thought about this book. This book has been out in the world for approximately 25 years, and ever since it came out, it's been an incredible hit, quite a tremendous literary success. Donna Tartt has become kind of a literary icon and kind of a mysterious figure as well. So there are three books that I think don't need reviewing. One of them is the Bible, one of them is Harry Potter, and the other one is The Secret History. So this is not a review. I will not talk about the plot or the intricacies of the story or what you should expect going into it if you've never read it. Honestly, I feel like if by now, if by 2018, you don't know what this book is about, if you don't know what to expect from this book, then you just haven't really cared that much about it, or you just haven't been paying attention, because this book has been everywhere. Regardless of that, if you don't know what the book is about, feel free to watch this video. No spoilers whatsoever. The Secret History by Donna Tartt is such a unique novel. It's such a well-crafted book, and it has to be one of the best reading experiences that I've ever had in my 26 years of existence. It was such a delicious gift. It was just indescribably good, and I will try to tell you why I personally felt that. But firstly, I think I should preface all of this by saying that I actually read this book like 3 years ago. I read the Spanish translation, and I honestly don't really remember that experience. I remember the basic premise and the setting and some of the characters, but the story and the intricacies of the language and all the good things that are to be found in this novel, I didn't really get them on the first reading 3 years ago. And so I think I really liked it. I gave it like 4 stars, but I didn't even include it in my top 10 that year. So I just put it back on the shelf, and one day I decided to pick up an English copy of the book, and now I read it, and oh my god, I can't believe I am 26 and only just now did I read The Secret History. I should have read the original English, when I was like 15. I mean, well, probably I wouldn't have appreciated it as much as I do now, but man, I really wish this book had been a part of my life earlier. So I think one of the things that really make this novel as unique and as bold and special as it is the premise, right? The premise of this novel is very unique. Basically, Donna Tartt set out to write a mystery murder novel in which the first sentence of the entire book gave everything away. In the first sentence of the prologue, she gives the who and the what of the mystery away. She tells you who killed who, what happened, everything. And the rest of the book, it's just 550 pages of the best reading experience you can possibly get. I think for me personally, the three aspects that made this novel stand out as much as it stands out are the language, the characters, and the setting. First of all, the language. Donna Tartt writes in a very interesting fashion. She uses this very eloquent, very wordy, elegant turn of phrase. She feels almost Victorian, classic. She feels almost ancient sometimes, and at the same time she feels very modern and accessible and electric. The language is so aesthetically beautiful. It's such a pleasing experience if you have an ear for language, and I adore the English language because it's not my native tongue. It's not the language that I grew up speaking or reading or interacting with. It's a language that I have learned over the years. Therefore, I have developed this kind of fascination for the inner workings of the language, of the English language. And reading writers like Donna Tartt, reading these authors' voices, it just makes the language come to life. I should also say that the language, the way that she works the language, is incredible. She manages to create actual physical sensory experiences. This book has some of the most intense, suspenseful, and chilling vibes that I've ever had while reading a book. And this is something that transcended the experience of the story. It sort of seeped into me, into my body, and into my mind. The anguish and the desperation that the characters were feeling became mine as well. There's a passage in the novel in which our protagonist is very sick, and he is very cold. He spends this very cold winter in this very desolate, barren place, and the entire day that I spent reading that passage, I was covered in blankets and suffering alongside of the character. I love it when an author has that power over me. It's like having someone manipulate you and torture you, but in such a pleasing way. So another thing that I really adored was the characters. I don't know if this is more of a character-driven novel or a plot-driven novel. I would say maybe it's 50-50, I don't know. But, oh man, I loved these characters. And these are characters that are very tough to like. And I don't know if like is the actual word, but they are so interesting and so pretentious and delicious, and they're sort of archetypical but not. They are kind of lifelike, but then they are incredibly magical at the same time. They feel just like everything else that Donna Tartt does in here. They feel kind of misplaced. They feel ancient and modern at the same time. They feel kind of anachronistic, but then I don't know. I mean, talking about this book is really, really difficult for me because I think what she manages to do, what she captures in this wonderful novel, really escapes words. I mean, this is a woman, Donna Tartt is a woman that spends a decade writing a novel. So, I mean, there must be so much work and so much mechanics going on backstage that we don't get to see in the final product, but that we do get to experience in a way. And yeah, this was just such a delightful experience in terms of getting to know these characters that are so interesting and so layered. And you know, these are characters that, if you really think about it, they are incredibly annoying and pretentious and evil, kind of, and if not evil, at least very problematic. But still, you grow attached to them, you grow fond of them, and you become a member of this conspiracy. You become complicit in this whole conflict. And then finally, the other thing that I really, really adored about Tartt's writing in here was the setting. We don't have a bunch of settings. We don't have a huge repertoire of settings, but the few settings that we have in this book are so atmospheric and vivid and rich and haunting that's more than enough. And this is something that she does again later on in her most recent novel, The Goldfinch. She does the same thing. She has very few settings, but they infuse the novel with a very particular feel and a very particular aesthetic. And finally, the last thing that I want to say about this book is, and I think this is the highlight of the book for me at least, is that this is the type of book that makes you hungry for more. It makes you crave great literature. It makes you want to curl up inside the house under a blanket and just spend months and years reading this type of literature. Right now, after having read The Secret History, I just want to read all the classics. I want to go and read Dickens, Austen. I want to read Bronte. I want to read all the classics that I haven't read. I want to read all the literature that I have. I want to just go and devour libraries and libraries and yeah, I just want to eat every book that I can find on my way. And when I get that feeling from reading a book, that just goes to show me how great the book was and how literary and how exquisite the experience was. So yeah, this is the type of writing that really makes you long for more. And it's really funny because this novel is very long. It's deceivingly long. It's 560 pages more or less. And in the first line, the first sentence, we know what's going to happen. And still, it's an incredibly suspenseful, thrilling, mysterious, fast-paced adventure. I read it in a couple of days, just like 3 days in total, and I am absolutely fascinated by what Donna Tartt can do with words. I mean, we are talking about words, the building blocks of language, and the fact that someone, a human person, can do this with those building blocks is just marvelous to me. So that was my not really review of Donna Tartt's The Secret History. I gave this book 5 stars because even if you don't like this book, you certainly have to appreciate this book, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am very biased by my enjoyment and how enchanted I was by this novel. But anyway, that's what I thought. Thank you very much for watching this video. And leave your comments down below if you have read it. Please tell me everything that you thought or feel about it. If you haven't read it, tell me everything that you want to say to me. And if you don't want to read it, just tell me, what have you heard about The Secret History? Are you excited about picking it up? Or is this one of those books that are so popular and so hyped that you will never pick up? Thank you very much for watching.